Welcome to our second Spark Talk. Today's Spark Talk is about formal events. Are they beneficial or not, and how so? For nonprofits, should we be more hands-on? Why? Remember, each person has 60 seconds to respond to the first question.
I think it depends on the event. Like the one that we went to Friday, the Pathway to Success, we were talking about leadership and values of a company and how to stay productive, as well as just making sure everyone is taken care of as well. But I think when you're going into like the late night meetings, when you are just like drinking and then just talking about problems, getting drunk, and then I just don't think that's a good value of your time. I think you could be talking about other stuff, or you could actually go out and like do stuff and like take action on certain events. Like you're talking about homelessness. Well, if you're talking about homelessness once every week for the past 6 weeks, and all you're doing is talking about it, well, when are you going to take action? So.
I feel like if it's an event that is probably held once a year, in attempt to get future sponsors, I think it's a good idea. But if it's like every other month, I think it's a waste of time.
I agree with Susie. If it's once a year or where you get sponsors and you get the people, because nowadays most people don't dress up for anything. So at least you get an excuse once a year to get dressed up and enjoying a different atmosphere. So I think it's a good thing.
I think there's so many causes here in our community. And I just look at it from a different way. I left for 5 years and I come back and I've been very critical. Things have not changed. Food lines at the food bank are getting longer. More people are dying of now drug overdoses and or fentanyl, the drug addicts, alcoholism. Special Olympics is one that really raises money and awareness. Special Olympics does fundraising events around the events and around the athletes. So I think that's positive. I look at really, I think some of these events are becoming a social calendar and a way to go out. And I think the money that we're spending on costumes could be better spent if I spent the time with somebody in the recovery program looking to get out and be clean. And in Asperity, Joe is right here. His company, Asperity, offers a $5,000. If you're their customer, they offer $5,000 towards adoption. Now that's a cause, right? We don't go to a special event, dress up. Their company is putting their money where their mouth is, and a cause that's very big.
And along those lines, I would say with the events, do we host formal events or do we attend networking events to give exposure to the BBB? Because visibility and exposure is what it's about. And I was leaning towards Insperity in that respect, where if we have a networking event, we want to highlight and have a nonprofit speak at that. And we want to say, hey, we're hosting this event, and I invited Barry to talk about the BBB, or Joe Crowley to talk about Coleman and give exposure. So I don't think we have to host formal events, and because it's like, who wants to be the chair of that, right? And no hands go up. But if we can go to these others and participate and get the exposure, then we're kind of getting, best of both worlds, I think.
Well, I kind of like, you can't give to every organization. What I do like is when you go into the store and they ask, and it Feed the Hungry is the one that they are advertising. Do you want to round up your dollars to that? I do like that, because then that way I can give to just about, whatever they're sponsoring for the organization. That's better. I like that better than hosting something, because why? I mean, I might not want to give $500 to this organization. I would like to give to Alzheimer's. I would like to give to heart disease. I would like to give to diabetes. I would like to give to that. I like to give to St. Jude's. And if St. Jude's on the housing and the giveaway cars, they have sponsors. I mean, that doing a charity work also. That's a good organization to give to. And I think, by the way they handle a raffle ticket to see who will win the house, for $100, for $100. And you can also win a vehicle. Those are sponsorships that the people have given them. And they didn't have to come out of my understanding, out of pocket to get these things. So, I mean, if you can get sponsorship like that, yeah, but there's no big host event that they give them, that they have to do that.
I think it's a question. That was way different perspectives on each person.
Yes, are formal events for nonprofits beneficial? Why or how so? And would it be better if we were more hands-on with the nonprofits?
I think we need to be more hands-on, and formal stuff isn't really. You're gonna get together, you're gonna have some cocktails, you're gonna talk about it, but you're not really doing anything about it. So no.
What about on the other side? So we do agree that being more hands-on is necessary for nonprofits. What if companies created a system where you had to put in a certain amount of hours of volunteer work each month?
In Sparity, actually, we have once a quarter for 4 hours in our office, every office, and we get like points or, credit for that. And we look at nonprofits, either in the Hampton Roads area. We went and did a children's hospice where we cleaned up the courtyard. We've gone to the food bank, and sorted a lot of different things. So there are definitely companies. I know at Dominion Payroll, they did Habitat for Humanity at a previous company I was at. So there's companies that really, especially now Capital One, that thrive on these things. So I think that's a great approach.
Yeah, I think that most big company already has that plan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, the big ones. But the point is, those the people have the time to do it, because it could be nice to go and help, but if you have goals to finish and you haven't, you're gonna go on and do it in working hours. Yeah? You can do it outside the working hours.
Well, small companies might not be able to allow for, if they're a 5-person show, to just shut down to have people go out and do it. But for a business, I think you have to have the one nonprofit that you're going to support. You can't have a team of 15 and each person wants to do something different.
I think the biggest thing, we don't know how to do it, because this has all happened over the last 20, 30, 40 years. And there's money in causes. There's money in diversity. There's money in segregation. There's money in separation of things. And there's money in nonprofit for causes. And the executive team gets paid. The staff gets paid. So it's a business, a nonprofit status. I think we've lost our way, or maybe we never knew our way, when there's an actual issue. And I always use Alzheimer's, American Cancer. Massey is a great example. Massey goes out and raises money, but Massey gets money given to them by American Cancer. So why are they competing with that versus why is everybody not working for American Cancer? You get 100 reasons, but the bottom line is, why have we not cured cancer? Why do we have fentanyl still killing people in one house to the left of me and one house to the right of me? Why? And why are we still feeding people out of a food bank? Why can't people go to a grocery store, buy foods with some kind of food stamp and do their own preparation? Because they don't have a house, Barry. That's the point. That's the first thing. Have a family, you gotta have a dwelling. So we have to fix root causes first.
I think what you were talking about, how like it is about like competition. Everyone's trying to compete with one another. So everyone wants the money first, I believe. And then they're gonna get to the root cause, but the money's just never enough. So they just keep stacking and stacking it. So they just never fix the problem.
It's become putting my sister, my brother, my mother, my father, my cousin name on that. So they're remembered forever versus what was the cost, right?
Mhm.
And instead of worrying about that individual, we don't fix anything based on an individual. It just makes us feel good.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of people have lost family members from Agent Orange that they don't have a T-shirt and a run and raise money for that one particular person. They've worked for Vietnam vets.
So what do you think makes a greater impact, or how do you think you build a better connection with a nonprofit? Is it through a formal event where you raise, let's say, $50,000 or $300,000, or is it more hands-on? And then we also have to think about, well, let's say, oh, we raised $300,000 for this event. Great. Does all of that go to the nonprofit?
That's very important because sometimes most of the money is spent on administration, on the salaries. So it's important that there is someone that will make sure that if you have money, you're not gonna spend most of the money on paying salaries and yet send 30% or less to the real cost. So I think there is a lot of bureaucracy that keep growing and growing, and then at the end, it doesn't fulfill the goal.
I think what's important to the nonprofits, obviously money is, but I feel like the volunteering, because they could always use the, like I said, the money, but volunteers probably, whether it's like at the doorways going to do a feeding at a dinner, right? Different things like that. The Habitat for Humanity is getting a team. And to your point with the businesses, sometimes a small business may give you, half a day off to do that. Or if it's too small, it might be, hey, on Saturday, there's an event, a 5K, and we're encouraging you to participate and we'll give you half a day off in the future, or something like that, right? But I think to answer the question, it's the volunteering maybe to, work at that 5K or, maybe not, I'm not gonna run it, but, or hand out water, things like that. So it's a combination of both, but I think the volunteers, I would say probably, because anybody could write a check to your point, right? But are we investing our time, with that nonprofit?
You still have to raise money. I've been told, I'm naive, that without these formal events, these show places, these concerts and all these things, alcohol, all these things, if that doesn't happen, the money will not flow. Told I'm naive, and I'm saying to myself, how can I be naive? We're just going out to dinners, taking our family out to a dinner, dress up event to make them feel good and say, check, I was seen. It's about being seen in a certain group versus the money's still got to flow, just like at church. They now let you just put it on a credit card, pay once a month, once a year. There's no more offering place in a lot of churches, but you understand what you're supposed to do, right? And you still got to go to church. So how do we show up at Special Olympics and work with athletes or write a check for $5,000 as a company? How's that? And if their goal is to raise $100,000 to take care of 3 athletes or $1 million to find a cure for Alzheimer's, let's do it, right? And then walk like mad. It's like, okay, we could do a walk, like to your point, but we have to write that check. We have to sponsor something because they do need the money also. And so how do we replace that? I don't know, but it's going to take leadership of one community. It's going to take one person losing one family member to a DUI. There was a DUI over the weekend. I guess I didn't read the whole story, but I told about it. When a DUI ran into a kid's birthday party, killed a brother and a sister or siblings. Horrific. Now, do they need to go out now and put T-shirts together for those 2 kids? Or do we have to do something about DUI? Well, man's been doing it for generations and we still have DUIs. What's the root cause? Oh, mental health. That's because the guy's masking his problems, possibly. So that's alcoholism, right? You just gotta call it what it is.
Yeah, I would say to your point though about like the volunteering versus the dollar and your point to the church, it's like, well, we all have different talents and I could volunteer all my time, but I can't write a $5,000 check and somebody could write a $5,000 check and maybe not can't give his time. So, so yeah, it's where your talents lie. I mean, we need both, we need them all though, for sure. It's not just one person.
Imagine if the company were to write a check, a sponsorship check to a black tie event, like we just did Friday with 4 people, we wrote a check for a sponsorship to a training event for VisWorks, and 4 people went for training.
Yeah.
Because that was included in the sponsorship. That works, right?
Yeah.
So we write a check, the employees benefit and grow and learn something.
Yeah.
Awareness.
So what are some strategies that nonprofits can use to encourage more people to come in and volunteer and be more hands-on? And think about especially for people that say they don't have enough time on their hands.
I think it's definitely changing, the culture of a community, because we say we don't have time when I feel like we really do. So it's just letting people know like, hey, this is going on. Why aren't we helping these people? And, what are you doing out of your day as opposed to doing something like this? And of course, we all have like goals and we all have things that we're doing. And, I think people are selfish. People want to do things for themselves, of course, but it's always good to just know that there's always someone that is going to need your help. And taking that time out of your day, you are going to not just feel better for yourself, but knowing that you helped someone. And later down the line, letting them practice what you just did to them will also, create like a chain reaction.
I think this town has gotten to be very good at, and every town has. I think Richard Moore, there's these awards you can win. We're all friends. You say Debbie's the #1 woman in her class, and we're gonna vote for her, and we all get to vote as many times as we want. Think about where we are. So you can vote, each one of us can work with Debbie. She's our boss. And she tells us, I gotta win this. So we go out to our outreach and we say, vote for Debbie, vote. So now Debbie becomes one of the women of the year. So she goes to this big banquet, 800 women, and she wins an award. And 10 more women win the award. And all this money is raised under an umbrella of something. I'm not even sure what that umbrella is anymore. I don't know if the money's going anywhere. But yet we all show up and we celebrate these women. And next year, then we go on social media. We love Debbie. Congratulations, Debbie, 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 Debbie. And then next year, it's Olga. And Olga supported Debbie. Debbie supports Olga. And now we got another woman of the year. Woman of the year, woman of the year, woman of the year, woman of the year. We don't know what these women have ever done. We don't know what they have given their time from. But we just raised a fortune of money. We don't even know where that money is going. To a nonprofit, maybe it's going to the YWCA a little bit for counseling, but it's really going towards that steak dinner, chicken dinner, whatever it is, the rental of the hotel, and to make everybody feel good, we advertise it. And so those things, I'm not sure that's the way anymore. I really don't. I think it's recognizing a group of people, and if it's real life recovery, and you go to Sarah, you go to work at the home where these people are living, you teach them how to interview, you teach them how to read, how to write, and you give them a chance for how to be a mom or a dad, because they might have parents, and they get back out after recovery, and you work with them, and you adopt them, at 30 years old, and you help them. And the company, it could be our company who sponsored the women, now don't do that anymore, but we really make a difference. And all of us work together for these people that are going to live next door to us.
And to that point, I think strategies to encourage volunteers goes back to the exposure of the networking events like WIMBY or Connect Local on the 30th, where you can talk to the business leaders in the community. that have these organizations that could either write the check and or have a team that they could then, provide an opportunity to volunteer. Hey, I was at an event, I talked to Evie, there's this great nonprofit, and they're not all gonna hit home, right? Like Dominion Payroll had the Cameron Gallagher Foundation. Well, you wanna be able to help all, but if you have a heart for one, and again, if we all just have one that we care about, then we still hit 10, right? So, I think it's getting exposure to the business community for those nonprofits.
I think that the people that wanna help others don't have to make a new nonprofit. They can help other people just going to the communities and going to the different church. Because they already have the networking. They already have the way how to reach the people. So if you wanna create a new nonprofit, no, don't create a new nonprofit. Get involved with all the different churches and the one that already exists, so you can make them more successful. And all the money that you will spend on creating the new one will be used for the community. So stop creating sin and start working on the one that are already done.
Yeah.
Can you all think of any successful formal events that nonprofits have hosted that have generated more volunteer work and more money to help it grow?
I think, Walk Like Mad from Mothers in Church Ivory has done a great job. We're creating awareness and raising money for the purpose. Celebrating the lives of people lost on t-shirts, but that team raising the money, still no full of money, so no executive director. I think the truck convoy with the state police and Special Olympics is a special event. The polar plunge, same type of thing. No expenses other than showing up, jumping in the water, in the ocean, right? That's great. The truck convoy was tractor trailers, 150 we got up to, driving up and down 95, 295 to raise awareness of Special Olympics. I think we could take the individual out of the cause. You know, I go to Alzheimer's, not for my father and my grandfather and need any attention for them. I go to the Alzheimer's because I knew what they went through. So I think I'm not big on the individual causes. I think that's a mental health issue. I really believe if you really got down to the founders, if somebody dies in my family and I make a cause, it's because I'm grieving and it's my way to grieve and everybody to fall all over me. And then I arise like a giant because I got a raise of $100,000 for a cause. And it's because my kid passed away, versus the whole thing. It's always coming down to mental health. I really believe majority of them. I think, Cure by Design was American Cancer, where it was an expensive event to attend. You bought a sponsorship, but the models were cancer survivors and they walked the runway. So it was a group they all had something in common. Designers got involved, they walked the runway. And Alicia Angela, she does one for women for trafficking and stuff and mental health. And she's doing it for a whole group instead of one particular person that died or was incarcerated or something. So I think it's the ones about more generic or better. But one with the cause and an individual name, I then prey on all my friends, my business associates, and I put the press on you to donate and come with me. And that's how it grows. And then someday we get to a point that we never look at the 990, we never look at where the money was spent, and we never fix the cost. And then we become experts on the issue. I'm a political science major, now I'm a mental health expert because I've raised $1 million and the governor falls all over me because he feels sorry, whatever the governor is, politicians get involved. I don't know anything. I never went to school for it. I don't know anything other than I lost somebody.
Well, maybe, maybe society today, maybe really would say, I don't have time. Or maybe they don't give like they used to because they never see anything happening. You give, and just like Mr. Moore says, why is this still happening? I don't see you doing anything. I just see you posting events, I see you, but I don't see you helping this person. So why am I gonna give and keep giving if you're not helping? If it is, then we do see children still dying of drugs, but are you really helping them? We do see homeless, but are you really helping them? You keep saying you are, but yet, there's still homeless people out there. And I don't, to fix the problem, I can't say what's to fix the problem, but if you're not helping them, why am I gonna donate my money to that charity? And it's a lot, I mean, you used to give, and people used to like to give to United Way, but they don't anymore. You know what I mean? So, but.
But don't we,
You're right.
don't we have the BBB for nonprofit?
We have wise giving, but I think that's where it's like, as a whole for society, we have to review a 990, see they did X number of events, and from that event, they raised 300,000, but only 275 went to administration costs, and 5,000 went here, and 5,000 went here, and maybe 2,000 went to the cause. That's the problem. So.
How many people have volunteered before? How did it impact you?
I was tired then. Well, it always makes you feel good because when you do something good for others, that is something that really fulfills you. But most people take too long to realize that, and that's why we don't do it more often. But if you help someone, you feel good, because you're looking recognition, but because you help someone. And you can help a neighbor. There are many people that you can help without going out, or a coworker or anyone that is close to you. If you see it with, having a bad day, you can help it that day, just talking to them, making them laugh or something, then the mood will change. So sometimes we don't need to look, oh, how will I help? No, help people every day with little gestures. And at the end, everybody's happy.
Yeah, I think if you look at it in the scope of, like, are we really affecting change? Because this has been going on, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, we just had one yesterday, like, gee whiz, like, why bother, right? Then, or just one little change, just, making Debbie smile today is the one piece you can add, and I get there's a big extreme from that to kind of solving things. But to answer your question, I mean, yeah, it does make you feel good, but at the same time, if we're being honest, there's frustration, and it's like, I mean, how, like, if I'm only one person, how many I could donate all my time and still not make a dent, right? So that's just human nature too. So you got to sometimes get out of that. Not bad attitude, right? But why am I really doing it? And that's all you can control is the 4 hours I can give to this and the reason I do it, and hope others do the same thing and a dent is made.
You might not see the dent, but to that one person or the people that you've helped, it does have a domino effect. It's also understanding that not a lot of people see that. A lot of people just see the bigger picture and don't see anything.
Well, I think I wrote down a lot earlier, and that's why I write down because I forget, but it's that domino effect. It is a video where it's like there's this whole hill of people at a music event, and one person dances like a knucklehead. And at first, people are kind of laughing and joking at him, and then 2 minutes later, somebody gets up and dances with him. Next thing you know, the whole hill is dancing like at the person they were making fun of 5 minutes ago, right? So if it's just that domino effect, it's like, oh, maybe it isn't so bad to go do this, and then see what happens from that.
I've attended a lot of events, and I would say this community, myself, Keith Reynolds and Mike King probably know all the nonprofits, maybe Dean Francis now, known better than most, the events, the formal events. But I will tell you, go to all the events, you go home, you forget at the end of the night why you went there for the cause. Everything I've done, whether it's at the food bank or the war memorial or a vet's home or mental health for young kids or juvenile homes or Richmond City Jail or the heart program in Chetford County, those events, those hands-on are much more beneficial to me personally. And it changes, and it gives me a knowledge. If I talk to somebody that just does a certain event that happens once or twice, golf tournament every year, and you really sit down with them and tell me how those Special Olympic athletes affected you. You wouldn't know what you're talking about. You talk to the volunteer that did it and still donated, or their company donated, and they did the time, whole different story. That's affecting change.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for joining me today for the Spark Talk. It was a wonderful conversation. I hope you all walk away with a new perspective, and hopefully it'll encourage you to volunteer more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everything was good and you would feel alive.